The emergency alarm rang through the massive space station. Red lights flashed in every hallway. Admiral Catherine Brooks ran down the metal corridor, her boots making loud sounds on the floor. She had never seen the galaxy in such danger before. Meeting room was full of alien leaders from different worlds. They all looked scared. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had blue skin or eyes that glowed in the dark. But they all shared the same fear. The void swarm was coming. Catherine stood at the front of the room. Behind her, a huge screen showed the latest news from the outer systems. Another planet had gone dark. Another billion lives lost to the hungry creatures that ate everything. In their path, the Kepler system is gone, she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. That makes 12 star systems in just 3 months. The swarm is moving faster than before. Commander Jake Morrison stepped forward. He was young for his rank, but the war had aged him quickly. Dark circles under his eyes showed he had not slept in days. Our best fleets are destroyed, Jake said. The Crystal Warriors fought for 6 days straight. Every single one of them died. The mind readers tried to confuse the swarm with their thoughts. The creatures just ate them too. An alien with 4 arms and green skin spoke up. His name was Council Leader Zax from the Peaceful Worlds. What about the Iron Giants? They have the biggest ships in the galaxy. Jake shook his head. The Iron Giants attacked yesterday. Their ships were a mile long and covered in the strongest metal we know. The swarm creatures just grew bigger mouths and swallowed them whole. A heavy silence filled the room. These were the leaders of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They had technology that could move stars and weapons that could destroy planets. But nothing worked against the void swarm. The creatures were unlike anything they had ever seen. They looked like giant bugs, but were as big as spaceships. They had no machines or weapons. They were the weapons. Their bodies could change shape to fight any enemy. Their skin could become harder than metal or softer than water. They could breathe in space and swim through solid rock. But worst of all, they learned. Every time someone fought them, they got smarter. Every new weapon made them stronger. Every battle plan helped them win the next fight. The swarm is not just destroying our worlds, said Ambassador Lin from the Harmony Coalition. They are eating our knowledge. Every mind they consume makes them more dangerous. Catherine looked at the faces around her. She saw the same thing in every set of eyes. Defeat. After thousands of years of peace, the galaxy was about to die. There is one option we have not tried, said a quiet voice from the back of the room. Everyone turned to look. Council Leader. Vera Stone stood up slowly. She was from the Astral Republic, a group of worlds known for their wisdom and calm thinking. If Vera was speaking, everyone would listen. The humans, she said. The room erupted in angry voices. Several aliens stood up and started shouting. Others made sounds of fear and disgust. One ambassador actually fell off his chair. Absolutely not, yelled Zax. We banned them for good reason. They are monsters. They nearly destroyed their own planet, added another voice. Wars every few years. Millions dead in conflicts over tiny pieces of land. Jake stepped forward. I have read the reports from the Proxima incident. 300 years ago, the humans attacked a peaceful research station. They killed everyone there just to test a new weapon. Catherine had read those reports, too. The humans had been cut off from the rest of the galaxy ever since. Their solar system was surrounded by warning beacons. No ship was allowed to go near Earth. No communication was permitted. The stories about humans were told to children as scary tales. A species so violent they fought wars for entertainment. So cruel they created weapons designed to cause pain, not just death. So unpredictable they would attack their own allies if it gave them an advantage. They are savages, said Ambassador Lin, We cannot trust them. They might join the swarm, added Zax. Creatures that violent would probably enjoy destroying the galaxy. But Vera Stone was not finished. Yes, they are violent. Yes, they are dangerous. But they are also the only species that has never been defeated in battle. This was true. In the short time, humans had been part of galactic civilization. They had won every single fight. Not because they were stronger or had better weapons. They won because they thought about war in ways that no other species could understand. The swarm adapts to everything we throw at them, Vera continued. But how do you adapt to something that makes no sense? How do you learn from an enemy that changes the rules every time? Catherine felt a chill run down her spine. She understood what Vera was suggesting. The humans were not just violent. They were creatively violent. They did not just fight wars. They turned war into an art form. Even if we wanted to contact them, Jake said, we do not know if they would help us. They have been alone for 3 centuries. They might not even remember the rest of the galaxy exists. Or they might be angry at us for the quarantine, added. Catherine walked to the big window that looked out into space. In the distance, she could see the glow of burning stars. The void swarm was getting closer. Soon, they would reach the core worlds. Billions more would die. She thought about her daughter, safe on a planet near the galaxy's center. She thought about all the children who would never grow up if the swarm kept coming. She thought about the thousands of species that would disappear forever. We are going to die anyway, she said quietly. If we do nothing, the swarm will eat us all. Maybe the humans will refuse to help. Maybe they will make things worse. But maybe, just maybe, they will save us. She turned back to face the room. I am sending a message to Earth. We have nothing left to lose. The vote was close. Half. The council wanted to try. Half wanted to find another way. But there was no other way. Everyone knew it. Catherine walked to the communication station. Her fingers moved over the controls, setting up a quantum beacon that would reach across the galaxy instantly. The message would travel faster than light, arriving at Earth in just a few hours. She thought carefully about what to say. How do you ask for help from people you have treated as criminals? How do you explain that the galaxy that rejected them now needed them desperately? In the end, she kept it simple. This is Admiral Catherine Brooks of the Galactic Alliance. Our galaxy is under attack by creatures we cannot defeat. We need your help. Please respond. She sent the message and sat back in her chair. Now they could only wait and hope that somewhere in the Sol system, someone was listening. Someone who might care enough to answer. The red lights kept flashing. The alarms kept ringing. And somewhere in the dark, between the stars, the void swarm kept coming. Captain Ryan Carter was drinking coffee in his small room when the message arrived. The coffee was bitter and black, the way he liked it. He was reading reports from the Mars colonies when his computer started beeping. The message was short, but it made Ryan smile for the first time in months. After 300 years of silence, the galaxy was finally talking to Earth again. And they were asking for help. Ryan was 28 years old and had been fighting wars since he was 18. He had scars on his arms from the Luna uprising and a metal plate in his skull from the asteroid belt campaign. Like most humans, he had been born into conflict and raised on stories of battle. He pressed a button on his desk. Amy, Danny, get in here. We just got some interesting news. Lieutenant Amy Peterson arrived first. She was the ship's tactical officer, a woman who could plan a battle faster than most people could plan dinner. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her green eyes were always looking for the next fight. Sergeant Danny Walsh came in behind her. He was a big man with thick arms and a beard that had not been shaved in days. Danny had fought in more battles than anyone could count. His job was to break things and he was very good at it. What is it, Captain? Amy asked. Doc Ryan showed them the message on his screen. Both of them read it twice, then looked at each other with growing excitement. The Galactic Alliance wants our help? Danny asked. The same people who locked us in our own solar system? The same ones, Ryan said. Apparently, they have a problem they cannot solve. Amy was already pulling up star charts on her tablet. These void swarm creatures. I have heard stories about them from the deep space monitoring stations. They eat everything in their path. Sounds like fun, Danny said with a grin that would have scared most people. Doc Ryan stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the orbital defense platforms that surrounded Earth. Big guns pointed out at the stars, ready to fight anyone who came too close. For 3 centuries, humans had been preparing for war with the galaxy. Now the galaxy was asking them to fight. Something else. Sir, Amy said, if we do this, there is no going back. The quarantine has kept us safe from galactic politics. Once we get involved, everything changes. Ryan nodded. I know, but look at it this way. We have been stuck in one solar system for 300 years. We have fought every war there is to fight here. Mars against Earth, the Belt against the inner planets, colony against colony. We are running out of people to fight. This was true. Humans had a problem. They were very good at war, but they kept winning too quickly. Every conflict ended with one side completely defeated. It was getting boring. Besides, Ryan continued, this swarm sounds like a real challenge. Amy, pull up everything we know about them. Amy worked at her tablet for a few minutes. Then she put the information on the main screen. What they saw made all 3 of them smile. The void swarm was everything humans loved in an enemy. They were strong, fast, smart, and almost impossible to kill. They adapted to every weapon and learned from every battle. They had destroyed fleets that were 10 times bigger than anything Earth could build. They sound perfect, Danny said. When do we leave? Hold on, Ryan said. First, we need to talk to Command. This is not just our decision. An hour later, Ryan stood in the war room, deep inside the orbital station. The room was filled with the highest ranking officers in the Earth Defense Force. General Paul Robinson sat at the head of the table, his gray hair and stern face showing the weight of command. So, the general said, the galaxy wants us back. Only temporarily, Ryan said. They make it clear this is a one-time thing. Help them with the swarm, then back to quarantine. And if we refuse? Asked Colonel Lisa Hayes. She was one of the few officers who had been alive during the Proxima incident. She remembered what it was like when the galaxy turned against them. Then the galaxy dies, Ryan said simply. And eventually, the swarm comes here. General Robinson was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. Gentlemen, ladies, we have a decision to make. Do we help the people who have treated us like criminals? Do we risk our lives for civilizations that fear us? Colonel Hayes raised her hand. Sir, I vote yes. Not because I forgive them, but because this is what we do. We fight. It is who we are. One by one, the other officers voted. Every single one said yes. Not because they loved the galaxy, but because they loved war. And this sounded like the best war any of them had ever heard of. Very well, General Robinson said. Captain Carter, you will command the first wave. Take your best people and your fastest ships. Show the galaxy what humans can do. 2 days later, Ryan stood on the bridge of his ship, the Earthbound. It was not the biggest ship in the human fleet, but it was the meanest. Every weapon had been designed to cause maximum damage. Every system had been built for war. Amy stood next to him, reading the final reports. Sir, we are getting messages from the outer colonies. They all want to join the fight. How many ships? Ryan asked. 57 combat vessels. The Mars fleet, the Belt miners, even the Europa ice runners want to help. Ryan smiled. This was what he had hoped for. Humans might fight each other, but when facing an outside enemy, they always came together. Danny, are your Marines ready? Ryan asked. Danny's voice came over the intercom from the troop bay. Sir, they are more than ready. They are excited. Some of them have been training for 20 years and never seen real combat. Good. Amy, set course for the Kepler system. Let us see what is left of it. As the human fleet moved away from Earth, they passed the quarantine beacons. For 3 centuries, no human ship had crossed that line. Now they were not just crossing it. They were racing toward the biggest fight in galactic history. The other ships in the fleet were small by galactic standards. Where alien vessels were built for exploration and trade, human ships were built for one thing: war. They had thick armor, powerful weapons, and crews that had been fighting since they were children. Sir, Amy said, I am getting a transmission. From the Galactic Alliance, they want to know our status. Tell them we are coming, Ryan said, and tell them to get their people out of the way. Things are about to get interesting. As the fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, Ryan felt something he had not felt in years. Hope. Not hope for peace or happiness, but hope for a really good fight. The kind of fight that would be remembered for generations. The Void Swarm had destroyed every enemy they had faced. They had adapted to every weapon and learned from every battle. But they had never faced humans. They had never fought a species that treated war like an art form. Captain, Amy said, we will reach the first battle zone in 6 hours. Perfect, Ryan said. Make sure everyone knows the plan. We are not here to save the galaxy. We are here to have fun. And if we accidentally save some alien lives along the way, well, that is just a bonus. The human fleet raced through space, carrying with them 300 years of pent-up aggression and a burning desire to fight something that might actually fight back. The galaxy had called for help, and the monsters were answering. The first battle happened near a dead star called Crimson Point. When the human fleet arrived, they found something that made even experienced soldiers stare in shock. The Void Swarm had built a nest dot. It was massive, bigger than most space stations. The nest looked like a giant insect hive made of black metal and living tissue. Thousands of swarm creatures moved around it like worker bees. Some were as small as fighters, others as large as battleships. My God, whispered Amy as she looked at the sensor readings. There are over 10,000 of them. Captain Ryan Carter stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the enemy through the main screen. The swarm creatures were unlike anything inhuman. Records. They had no set shape, changing their bodies as needed. Some had wings, others had tentacles. All of them had too many teeth. Sir, said Lieutenant Tony Miller from his fighter cockpit, they know we are here. They are starting to move. Ryan smiled. Good. Let them come. Danny, are your Marines ready for the ground assault? Danny's voice came over the radio, filled with excitement. Sir, we have been ready since we left Earth. The boys are getting restless. Amy, what do we know about swarm tactics? Ryan asked. Amy pulled up her reports. They swarm their enemies with superior numbers. They adapt to whatever. Weapons are used against them. Every species that has fought them used the same basic strategy. Big fleets, heavy weapons, coordinated attacks. And they all lost, Ryan said. Every single one, Amy confirmed. The swarm learned from each battle and got stronger. Ryan was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he started to laugh. That is their weakness. They learn from patterns. They expect their enemies to fight like soldiers. Sir? Amy asked. They have never fought humans before. They have never faced an enemy that does not follow the rules. Ryan opened the fleet communications channel. All ships, this is Captain Carter. Forget everything you know about space combat. We are going to fight this like a bar fight. The human fleet split up and attacked from 12 different directions at once. But they did not attack the same way. Some ships flew straight at the enemy, guns blazing. Others pretended to run away, then turned around and attacked from behind. A few ships just flew in circles, shooting at random targets. The swarm creatures tried to adapt, but there was nothing to adapt to. Every human ship fought differently. Every attack was unique. Just when the swarm thought they understood the pattern, the humans would change it completely. "This is Miller," came the voice of the fighter pilot. "I am pretending my engines are broken. 3 swarm fighters are coming to finish me off." "Copy that, Miller," Ryan said. "Spring the trap when ready." Miller waited until the enemy was close. Then suddenly his broken ship came alive. Hidden weapons opened fire, destroying 2 swarm fighters instantly. The third one tried to escape, but Miller had anticipated that too. "Got him," Miller reported. "These things are smart, but they think too much. They keep trying to figure out what I am going to do next." On the other side of the battle, Marine Captain Beth Johnson was leading the assault on the swarm nest. Her team had landed on the surface in small groups, each with a different mission. "Johnson to base," she radioed. "The nest is bigger than we thought. It goes deep underground. What is your plan?" Ryan asked. Beth smiled inside her helmet. "We are going to do what Marines do best. We are going to break things." Her team split up into even smaller groups. Some went left, some went right, others went straight down into the nest. Each group carried different weapons and had different orders. There was no overall plan, just organized chaos. The swarm creatures inside the nest tried to defend themselves, but they could not predict what the humans would do next. One group of Marines used explosives to blow holes in the walls. Another group used flamethrowers to burn the organic parts of the nest. A third group just started shooting everything that moved. "This is Sergeant Walsh," came Danny's voiceover. The radio. "I found something interesting. The nest has a central brain." "What does it look like?" Ryan asked. "Big, ugly, and it has way too many eyes." "Want me to kill it?" "Not yet," Ryan said. "I have a better idea. Instead of destroying the brain, Danny's team captured it. They wrapped it in a special net that blocked its ability to communicate with the other swarm creatures. Then they dragged it to the surface." "Johnson, get your people out of there," Ryan ordered. "We are going to try something new." Beth and her Marines retreated from the nest, but not in an orderly way. They left behind small explosive devices, but not where the enemy would expect them. Some were hidden in walls, others were attached to swarm creatures themselves. "All ships, pull back to safe distance," Ryan ordered. "We are going to send the swarm a message." The explosives went off in a sequence that spelled out a word in the ancient human language of English. The word was short and simple, but it carried a clear meaning. "Hello." The swarm creatures were confused. They had never encountered an enemy that said hello by blowing up their nest. They tried to understand what the humans were doing, but there was no logical explanation. "Sir," Amy said, "the swarm is regrouping. They are trying to figure out our strategy." "Perfect," Ryan said. "Let them think. While they are thinking, we will be acting." The human fleet attacked again, but this time they did something even more confusing. They started playing music. Loud, aggressive human music that made no sense to the swarm creatures. The sound waves disrupted their ability to communicate with each other. "This is insane," said one of the newer pilots. "We are fighting aliens with rock music." "Welcome to the human way of war," Ryan replied. "If it works, it is not crazy." The music worked better than any weapon. The swarm creatures relied on perfect communication, to coordinate their attacks. With loud music jamming their signals, they began to make mistakes. Some attacked their own allies. Others flew into asteroids because they could not hear the warnings. "Johnson, how is the brain extraction going?" Ryan asked. "It is fighting us," Beth reported, "but we have it contained. This thing is trying to tell the other creatures what we are doing, but the music is blocking its signals." "Good. Get it to the ship. We are going to have a conversation with it." Dr. Helen Carter, Ryan's sister and the fleet's xenobiologist, was waiting in the ship's medical bay. She had studied alien life forms for years, but she had never seen anything like the swarm brain. "It is incredible," she said as the Marines brought it in. "It is part machine, part animal, part something else entirely. It is like nothing in our databases. Can you talk to it?" Ryan asked. "I can try. But first, I need to understand how it thinks." Helen worked for hours, studying the brain and trying to figure out how it communicated. Finally, she found a way to connect to it using a combination of electrical signals and chemical messages. "It is terrified," she reported. "It has never encountered a species like us. It cannot predict what we will do next." "Ask it about the swarm," Ryan said. Helen communicated with the brain for several minutes. What she learned changed everything. "The swarm is not evil," she said. "They are just hungry. They consume other species to survive, but they do not enjoy it. They are like a virus that has grown too big to control." "Can they be reasoned with?" Ryan asked. "I do not think so. They are too different from us. But there is something else. This brain is not just a controller. It is a teacher. It learns from every battle and shares that knowledge with the rest of the swarm." Ryan understood immediately. So if we can confuse this brain, we can confuse the entire swarm. Exactly. But it has to be something completely outside their experience, something they cannot adapt to. Ryan smiled. "I know just the thing. Helen, can you make this brain think we are about to do something logical?" "I can try." "What do you have in mind?" "We are going to attack their main fleet, but not the way they expect. We are going to attack like humans." The final battle of the day was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The human fleet charged straight at the swarms. Main force, but instead of fighting, they started playing games. Ships played tag, chasing each other around the enemy formation. Fighters performed stunts that served no military purpose. Marines sang songs over the radio. The swarm creatures were completely confused. They had adapted to every logical form of warfare, but they had no idea how to respond to organized fun. Some tried to join in, thinking it was a new kind of attack. Others just floated there, waiting for the real battle to begin. "Sir," Amy said, "the swarm is falling back. They are retreating to the outer system." "Let them go," Ryan said. "We have learned something important today." "What is that?" "The swarm can adapt to any strategy, but they cannot adapt to no strategy at all. They are too smart for their own good." As the human fleet regrouped, Ryan sent a message to the Galactic Alliance. "First battle complete. The swarm has been defeated at Crimson Point. They are retreating, but they will be back." The response came quickly. "How did you defeat them?" "Every other species has failed." Ryan smiled as he dictated his reply. "We fought like humans." Apparently, that is something new in this galaxy. 3 weeks after the battle at Crimson Point, the war had changed completely. The Void Swarm was no longer advancing. For the first time in their history, they were running away from an enemy. General Paul Robinson stood in the command center of the human flagship Victory. Around him, dozens of screens showed battles happening across the galaxy. Human ships were everywhere, fighting the swarm in ways that made no sense to anyone except humans. "Report," Paul said to his aide, Lieutenant. "Commander Jason Brooks." "Sir, We have engaged the swarm in 17 different star systems. We have won 16 battles and lost one. What happened in the loss? The commander tried to fight like a normal military unit, used standard tactics and logical strategies. The swarm adapted and destroyed his entire squadron. Paul nodded. Make? Sure, everyone knows. The moment we start making sense, we lose. What is the status of the main offensive? Jason pulled up a star map. Colonel Hayes is leading the assault on the swarm supply lines. Major Adams is hitting their communication centers. Captain Johnson is doing something she calls aggressive confusion near the Delta Nebula. And Captain Carter? He is working with his sister to interrogate more swarm brains. They think they have found something important. Paul smiled. The Carter siblings were his best team. Ryan could fight anything, and Helen could understand anything. Together, they were solving the mystery of the Void Swarm. Admiral Catherine Brooks from the Galactic Alliance appeared on the main screen. She looked tired but hopeful for the first time in months. General Robinson, she said, your people have done the impossible. The swarm is retreating from the core systems, but we need to know if this is permanent. Admiral, Paul replied, we are working on that. But first, we need to understand what we are really fighting. In the medical bay of Ryan's ship, Dr. Helen Carter was making a breakthrough. She had been studying captured swarm brains for weeks, and she finally understood how they worked. Ryan, she called to her brother, you need to see this. Ryan came into the lab, still wearing his battle armor. He had just returned from a fight near the Vega system, where his team had defeated a swarm fleet by pretending to surrender and then attacking during the surrender ceremony. What did you find? He asked. Helen pointed to the swarm brain floating in a special container. This is not just a brain. It is a library. Every piece of information the swarm has ever learned is stored in here. That is good news for us, right? We can learn their secrets. Yes, but there is more. The swarm does not just learn from their enemies. They become their enemies. Every species they have fought has left a mark on them. They have parts of crystal warrior technology, mind reader telepathy, even iron giant armor. Ryan stared at the brain. So they are not just one species. They are a combination of everyone they have ever defeated. Exactly. And that is why they are so confused by us. They keep trying to add human traits to their collective, but human traits do not work in a collective. What do you mean? Helen smiled. Humans are individuals. We think differently, act differently, fight differently. The swarm cannot copy. That because they are all connected. They can copy our weapons, but they cannot copy our creativity. So what happens if we keep fighting them? They will keep trying to adapt to us. But the more they try to think like humans, the more they will start to fall apart. Their unity is their strength, but it is also their weakness. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, human forces were proving Helen's theory correct. Every battle was different, and every victory made the swarm more confused. Colonel Lisa Hayes was leading an attack on a swarm supply depot in the Rigel system. Her plan was simple: attack everything except the obvious target. All units, ignore the main depot, she ordered. Attack the small outposts around it. Make noise, cause chaos, but do not go near the big target. Her pilots were confused. Colonel, the depot is right there. We could destroy it easily. That is exactly why we are not going to attack it. Trust me. The human fighters swarmed around the depot, destroying every small target they could find. They shot at empty space, attacked harmless asteroids, and even started fighting each other for practice. The swarm creatures defending the depot did not know what to do. They had prepared for an assault on their main facility, but the humans were ignoring it completely. Some swarm fighters came out to fight, but the humans just ran away, leading them farther from the depot. After 3 hours of this, Lisa finally gave the order to attack the depot. By then, the swarm defenders were so confused they barely fought back. The depot was destroyed in minutes. Why did that work? Asked one of her pilots. Because they were expecting us to attack the obvious target, Lisa explained. By ignoring it, we made them doubt their own intelligence. They spent so much time trying to figure out what we were really doing that they forgot to defend what we were really after. In another part of the galaxy, Major Steve Adams was trying something even more unusual. He was teaching the swarm to doubt themselves. Steve had captured a swarm communication relay, a device that sent messages between different parts of their fleet. Instead of destroying it, he was using it to send false information. This is Admiral Smith of the human fleet. He broadcast in the swarm's own language. We are about to attack your main base with our secret weapon. The message was obviously fake. There was no Admiral Smith, and humans did not have a secret weapon. But the swarm did not know that. Sir, said his communications officer, they are responding to the fake message. They are moving their forces to defend against an attack that is not coming. Perfect, Steve said. Now send them another message. Tell them we are actually going to attack from the opposite direction. But, sir, we are not attacking from either direction. I know. That is the point. Keep sending them different messages. Make them think we are everywhere at once. The false messages work better than any weapon. The swarm fleet started moving in circles, defending against attacks that never came. They were so busy trying to figure out what the humans were really. Doing that, they forgot to defend what they actually needed to protect. Captain Beth Johnson was having the most fun of all. She had been assigned to aggressive confusion duty, which meant her job was to make the swarm as confused as possible. Johnson. To all units, she radioed. Today we are going to play a game called What Are the Humans Doing Now? Her fleet of small ships spread out across the Tau Ceti system, where a large swarm force was trying to establish a new nest. But instead of attacking, the humans started doing random things. Some ships flew backwards. Others spun in circles. A few started broadcasting human music at full volume. One ship even started doing loops around a small moon, apparently for no reason at all. Captain, said her tactical officer, the swarm is sending out scout ships to investigate our behavior. Good. When they get close, wave at them? Wave at them? Yes. Use the external cameras to wave at them. Make them think we are happy to. See them. The human ships actually waved at the approaching swarm scouts. The enemy creatures were so confused, they just floated there, trying to figure out what the gesture meant. Now what? Asked the tactical officer. Now we invite them to dance, Beth said with a grin. The human ships started moving in patterns that looked like dancing. Some moved fast, others moved slow. They weaved between the swarm scouts, like they were at a party instead of a battle. Swarm creatures tried to analyze the patterns, looking for hidden meanings or secret signals. They spent hours studying the human dance, trying to understand what it meant. It meant nothing. The humans were just having fun. Captain, reported the tactical officer, the main swarm force is pulling back. They are retreating from the system. Already? But we just got here. Sir, I think they are afraid of us. They cannot understand what we are doing, so they think we must be planning something terrible. Beth laughed. We are planning something terrible. We are planning to keep being unpredictable. Back on the Victory, General Robinson was receiving reports from all over the galaxy. The pattern was the same everywhere. The swarm was retreating, not because they were being defeated, but because they were being confused. Sir, said Lieutenant, Commander Brooks, we are getting a message from the Galactic Alliance. They want to know our overall strategy. Tell them we do not have one, Paul said. That is our strategy. Sir? The swarm expects us to have a plan. They are trying to figure out what our plan is so they can counter it. But we do not have a plan, so there is nothing for them to figure out. Brooks looked confused. But sir, how can we win without a plan? Because we are humans, Paul explained. We do not need a plan. We have something better. We have chaos. The truth was becoming clear across the galaxy. The Void Swarm was the perfect enemy for any logical species. They could adapt to any strategy, counter any weapon, and learn from any defeat. But they could not adapt to pure randomness. Dr. Helen Carter had discovered the key. In her latest report, she explained what was happening to the swarm's collective mind. They are trying to add human unpredictability to their shared consciousness, she wrote. But unpredictability cannot be shared. It is individual. The more they try to copy us, the more their unity breaks down. Each time they encounter our forces, they add our tactics to their memory. But human tactics only work for humans. When a collective mind tries to... 6 months after the first battle, Captain Ryan Carter stood in the observation deck of the Alliance flagship Galactic Hope. Through the massive window, he could see the human fleet preparing to return to Earth. The war was over, but the victory felt strange. Admiral Catherine Brooks walked up beside him. Her face showed relief, but also worry. The galaxy had been saved, but the cost was something nobody had expected. Your people did it? She said quietly. The Void Swarm is gone. Not gone, Ryan corrected. Changed. They are still out there, but they are not the same creatures that attacked the galaxy. This was true. The swarm had not been destroyed. Instead, they had been transformed into something completely different. Scattered across the galaxy in small groups, they were trying to learn how to be individuals instead of a collective. Some had joined peaceful species as workers or students. Others had started their own small communities on empty planets. A few had even become artists, creating strange sculptures that no one understood, but everyone found beautiful. The Council has made its decision, Catherine said. The quarantine will continue. Ryan nodded. He had expected this. We knew this was temporary. We helped because it was the right thing to do, not because we expected anything in return. But it is not fair, Catherine said. Your people saved us all. You should be welcomed as heroes. Heroes who are too dangerous to be trusted, Ryan replied. I understand. We changed the swarm by being ourselves. That same unpredictability scares the galaxy. Catherine was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke again. There is something else. The Council wants to study your methods. They want to understand how you defeated an enemy that had never been defeated before. Ryan smiled. That is easy to explain. We did not try to defeat them. We just acted like humans. The swarm could not adapt to that because there was nothing to adapt to. But your tactics, your strategies. We had no tactics or strategies. That was the point. Every other species tried to fight the swarm with logic and planning. We fought them with chaos and confusion. Dr. Helen Carter joined them. On the observation deck, she carried a tablet with her latest research about the swarm transformation. The final reports are in, she said. The swarm collective has completely broken down. They are now thousands of individual groups, each trying to figure out their own identity. Are they dangerous? Catherine asked. Not anymore. They are too busy learning how to be individuals to threaten anyone. Some groups are actually helping other species rebuild the worlds that were damaged in the war. What about the ones that cannot adapt? Helen looked sad. Some of them are dying. They cannot survive without the collective mind. But others are thriving. They are discovering things like friendship, creativity, and personal choice. Ryan watched as the human ships prepared to leave. His own crew was excited to go home, but he felt a strange sadness. For the first time in 300 years, humans had been part of something bigger than themselves. Will we ever see each other again? Catherine asked. Probably not, Ryan said. But if the galaxy ever needs us again, we will be there. That is what we do. General Paul Robinson's voice came over the communication system. All human vessels, prepare for departure. We are going home. As the human fleet began to move away from the galactic core, Ryan thought about what they had accomplished. They had not just saved the galaxy. They had changed it forever. The swarm had been the perfect enemy for any logical species. But they had never faced a species that did not follow logic. Humans had won by being unpredictable, creative, and absolutely impossible to understand. Captain, said Amy Peterson, we are getting messages from Earth. Everyone wants to know what happened. Out here. Tell them we had a good fight, Ryan said. Tell them we won. What about the details? Let the historians figure out the details. We did our job. As the fleet traveled through space, Ryan received a final message from Admiral Brooks. It was marked as classified, meant only for human eyes. Captain Carter, the message read, what I am about to tell you must never be shared with the Council. The truth is, we did not just call you because we needed your help. We called you because we were curious. For 300 years, we have wondered what would happen if humans were unleashed on the galaxy again. The Proxima incident showed us how dangerous you could be to peaceful species. But we never knew how you would fight against a truly dangerous enemy. Now we know. You did not just defeat the swarm. You changed them into something better. You turned the galaxy's greatest threat into its newest citizens. The Council is afraid of what this means. If humans can change an enemy just by being themselves, what else might they be capable of? Ryan deleted the message without sharing it with anyone. Catherine was right to be worried. Humans had shown they could do more than just win wars. They could change the very nature of their enemies. Months later, back on Earth, Ryan sat in his office writing his final report. The war was over, the galaxy was safe, and humanity was back in quarantine. But things would never be the same. The government had already started preparing for the next time. New ships were being built, new weapons were being designed, and new soldiers were being trained. Everyone knew that someday the galaxy would call for help again. Sir, said Lieutenant Amy Peterson, now promoted to captain, we are getting reports from the deep space monitoring stations. The swarm groups are spreading out across the galaxy. Some are setting up permanent homes on uninhabited worlds. Any problems? Just the opposite. Several species have reported that former swarm members are helping with construction projects, scientific research, and even art programs. They seem to be natural learners. Ryan smiled. Good for them. What about the ones that are still struggling? The Galactic Alliance has set up support programs to help them adapt. They are learning slowly, but they are learning. And the galaxy's reaction to all this? Amy was quiet for a moment. Mixed. Some species are grateful for what we did. Others are terrified. They realize that if we could change the swarm, we could probably change anyone. They are not wrong, Ryan said, but they do not understand that we have no interest in changing anyone. We just want to be left alone to fight our own wars. What wars? We have fought everyone in the solar system already. We will find new wars. We always do. Maybe we will fight ourselves again. Or maybe we will find new enemies in the dark between the stars. Amy laughed. You sound like you are looking forward to it. I am. War is what we do best. It is who we are. As the years passed, stories about the human intervention became legend. Children across the galaxy were told about the monsters who saved everyone by being too crazy to understand. The tales grew with each telling until humans became mythical, figures of chaos and heroism. But in the deepest vaults of the Galactic Council, a simple message was stored. It was to be opened only in the greatest emergency, when the galaxy faced a threat too dangerous for any logical species to handle. The message was short. In case of universal threat, break seal. Send message to Earth. We need the monsters again. The galaxy slept peacefully, knowing that somewhere in the Sol system, humanity waited in the darkness. They were still quarantined, still considered too dangerous for normal contact. But they were also the galaxy's ultimate weapon, ready to be unleashed when logic failed and only chaos could save the day. On Earth, in the orbital stations and lunar bases, humans continued to do what they had always done. They fought small wars, developed new weapons, and prepared for the next big conflict. They did not know when it would come, but they knew it'd come, because that was what humans did. They fought, they won, and they protected those who could not protect themselves, even if those same people were afraid of them. The galaxy had called for help, and the monsters had answered. Now the monsters were back in their cage, but the cage door was never locked. It was just marked with a simple sign, warning, open only in case of emergency. And in the dark spaces between the stars, new threats were already stirring. Things that had noticed the galaxy's weakness during the swarm invasion. Things that were now planning their own attacks on the peaceful worlds. But they did not know about the monsters waiting in the Sol system. They did not know about the species that had turned the galaxy's greatest threat into its newest citizens just by being themselves. When the next threat came, they would learn, and the galaxy would be saved once again by the creatures it feared most, the unpredictable, chaotic, impossible to understand humans. The monsters were ready. They were always ready.